Welcome back to today's episode of Relationships with Adenike. And we're enjoying some time in the man cave as we explore the mind of a man. And we're just talking and having a good time. And during the break, we're just discussing some of the things and key issues that we've raised today. And just before we went on the break, we were talking about, relationships. And I know we have a couple of single guys amongst us, and I was just curious that, most of the time people feel that women, not most of them, people feel it's the reality that in most cases, women are encouraged very, very seriously to start considering marriage at a certain age. That pressure that most men don't face. There's some form of liberty. Hey, enjoy yourself, as a man and all of that. So let me ask, for you single guys, do you ever feel, not do you feel pressure to get into a relationship, but do you feel pressure to find the sort of woman that appeals to you? How difficult is it? Or have you ever had some interesting stories? People think once a man wants to get married, he gets married. Once it's serious, how easy is it to really find a wife in today's age and time? Let me start with Chris now.
So as a single guy.
Okay. I'll let Tokwe go and then I'll let Chris, if it's okay with you. Okay.
I have to kind of bring this another way. It deals more culturally.
Okay.
As a Yoruba guy.
All right. Okay.
Not only is it not easy, it's very difficult. One, yes. Because you get pressured from family. Okay. Once you get to a certain point, oh my God, you've gotten your degree now. Oh yeah, where's the baby? Mm-hmm. It's a problem because they expect you to be ready, like right away. Right. Two, you gotta bring home a proper Yoruba person. That's a problem because what if the person themselves is not ready? Pressure from home is a problem. Now, society might say, hey, you're a guy, you can take your time, you can do this, you can relax. But honestly, most guys don't want to wait long either. Nobody wants to have a kid at, the 35 when you don't have to, when you can start early. But it's not just the pressure from home, but then you also have the pressure of, are you ready financially? Can you afford it? Kids are very expensive, especially nowadays when you have student loans, you have multiple student loans. That's a problem. And not even just that, emotionally, are you ready? Can you really handle the responsibility? So it's not easy. It's very difficult.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing, right? Thanks for that. I like that angle. Okay. What about you, Chris?
I think that sometimes a guy needs to know if he himself is ready, because I know for myself, there was a point in time where I just was not even interested. I was more so career focused and I didn't feel like it was time for me to concentrate on that. But now that I am looking, the thing is that I'm more particular about finding a woman that is going to compliment me. I've tried, dating different people, and at the end of the day, I'm not just going to settle because it's time or because I'm getting questioned or because people think that, I should find somebody at this point. If the person is not going to compliment me and I'm not going to compliment the person, then I'm not going to rush into it. So a lot of the time, it's really about making sure that you within yourself are ready to embark in that journey. And then making sure that you find the proper one, because you can date somebody and before you know it, as long as you're, getting a chance to know them, you find that you guys are not going to be capable. You can't foresee yourself with that person years down the road. Then I'm the kind of person, I won't waste my time, and I'm not going to sit down and say, okay, I'll make it work, even though I know in the back of my head, I can't deal with certain things that she might do or certain things that I feel like I'm doing because I'm with her or vice versa. So it's just really also just making sure that you're ready and then finding the suitable person. And, for some people it's a time thing, and I don't mind taking my time.
Interesting.
And on top of that, it takes a lot of patience, because it's like, you have, everyone has to have a set time to experience something, and they have experiences. Just like as a single person, if you go out to a restaurant, you try Chinese food, you find out you like it, you try Italian food, you find like you don't like it. It's the same thing as far as dating. You can't just go out and just like, okay, I'm gonna go date this girl, I know we're gonna work out. You might not know that you don't probably like a serious woman all the time. and then you don't want to date that person, so you try someone else. And you don't want someone who's always telling jokes all the time. You want someone who can, probably balance both. It's like a trial and error thing. You need to have, how would you know you like something? How would you not know that you don't like something unless if you experienced it? So you need to take some time to go out and date. You need to date different things. I mean, not different things. You need to date different women. You need to date different women. I'm sorry. You need to date different women. So you can see.
But I think so. I get where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. But I think that analogy might actually also be part of the issues that we're talking about, because then the trial and error is, in most cases, the more you expose yourself to certain types of relationships, the more difficult it is actually. Because then I'm wondering, should it not be the other way to say that, remember we were talking about the fact that, in the beginning, a man requires a vision, and sometimes it's actually when vision drives you, because I feel part of our challenge right now is that you don't have to date a person, which, while I appreciate the fact that you need to give time to know a person, and I 100% agree with you to know if you're compatible. But one of the things that I find is that especially in our society, that that place of vision, even for relationships, is so important. That before even trying to figure out who would fit into your life, that having a clear sense of vision and purpose would even initially guard from that some of those challenges and things that could occur, because your approach would then be quite different. Yeah. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
At that point, you just got to be honest with yourself and honest with them too. You got to let them know, like, if you're just doing this for fun or you're doing it because you're actually looking for something. If what you looking for, if you don't find it in that person, then you know when to end things off, or you continue on just wasting your time.
Right.
The thing is just like you use the dating period just to see what your likes and what your dislikes are. It's not necessarily just to immediately find that person, because it's going to take your time. Because what if you...
I like what you're saying, Eddie, but there's some areas that, because these are areas where I feel that at times that the approach is so important, because one thing you said I agree with is that there's a need to give time. The first person you meet might not be the person that's most compatible, but the approach and the process can also, either make that a lengthier process. Yes, you did. That's I think what I was going to. You were going to say something.
So I will use myself as an example. Been married 10 years, and when I never wanted to get married. I never wanted to get married. Not to say anything. My parents were not necessarily the best example then growing up. But I think what changed for me, was going to church. And what I mean by that, not necessarily going to church alone, but I think what I saw around the church, the minister, and that was always his thing. He was always speaking about his relationship with his wife and how good it was and how they grew together, how they were able to mold and build the church together. And I think I saw a different perspective. Right. I was invited by the young lady who was now my wife, and I think, even when I first went, I didn't really go with the intent of mind. I was like, okay, I'm coming to church, we've been to church before, nothing new. But I think what I saw, it changed my mindset. And, could it have been anyone else? Maybe, but with her, when I went to church and what I saw and everything around me and people around me, husband and wife, young couples, people actually, doing things together. I said, look, I could do this. I could do this. And I think that's what kind of flipped in my mind. The examples around me, the encouragement around me. Because the flip side was, I was dating outside when I was, not in church, but it was easy to just break up because I didn't have role models or examples to stay. It was just easy to just be like, you know what, I think we're done. Let's not even call each other anymore. Let's put a fork in it and we're good, right? But I think that changed for me. It was the examples that I saw. And I'll say this too, if I may. And when I did get married, yes, I was younger, relatively, 27, considered young nowadays, right? But yes, there were struggles in the beginning, because being married is a different thing entirely. But I think what also helped, ironically, was staying in church. I call it free therapy every Sunday. We might scuffle on Friday and Saturday, but when we get to church, by the time we're done, it's like, baby, forgive me. And so I think that helped to build. So that whole thing for me was what really changed my perspective.
Excellent. Okay. Yes, I was just going to have Boyega. If anyone wanted to say something as well.
What I was just going to say is, it's very inexhaustive for us to really analyze situations that has to do with relationships and marriage. I'm single, I'm not married, but I've been in relationships, and I've got to realize that it's not about how long you stay with the woman or how long you guys date each other for 2-3 years. It doesn't really matter. Marriage, even for the next 30-40 years that you guys are married, it's still a learning process. You guys keep knowing each other day by day. The man is going to do something different, the woman is going to do something different tomorrow. For me, in my past relationship, and this is one thing I would share with everyone, maybe by your next question, it's very important that once you see that signal, in sales and marketing we call it buying signal or not a buying signal. If you get a buying signal for something and you know the product and service is good and it's going to meet your need, you go for it. Once you see that signal in a woman or in a man that I smell doom, stay clear immediately.
Okay.
I would say I fell a victim of that because I saw it coming in a past relationship that I was, but I felt she was going to change. And don't let us mix this up. People talk about, oh, she's a church girl, she goes to church, or he goes to church. It's not a yardstick for a good man or a good woman. So probably that was one of the things that blindfolded me. That I felt, oh, she goes to church, her parents are in the church and all that. But I saw those tendencies in her that were doomed that would get me in trouble. And I felt I was going to make it work with God and prayer and all that. So it's very important that we separate the person, ethics and values from religion and Christianity and faith.
Okay.
It's two different things. If the ethics and the values are wrong, it doesn't balance it out with your faith and your religion. So in my understanding over time, I've got to realize that both of them have to be upright.
Exactly. Yeah.
Your Christian life, your spiritual life, your ethical life, and your values. If those two things are missing and they're not there, you don't have a good woman. You don't have a good man.
Just to say to the single people, there are certain things I didn't realize when I was single. Now that I know that I'm married, there's no template on the perfect woman out there, and you have to be careful not to overanalyze this. You know, to a certain extent, it's almost like taking a leap of faith, because you think you're gonna know what you're gonna get. You have no idea. I've known my wife for 8 years, we've been friends. And we've been living in the house together, and every week I'm learning something new about her. So you gotta prep yourself for that, you know. And it's very important, that friendship part, to develop that friendship part, because when you start having problems at home, and the love is not there sometimes, that friendship is something you can fall back on.
That's right.
So I just want to emphasize that you don't want to overanalyze it. If you feel like, oh, she's good in church, she can cook, she's Nigerian, she knows that material, trust me, man, she will change on you, because marriage will test you and will push you to the limits. And you know, so you gotta prep yourself for that. So don't think the way you see it now, that's the way it's gonna be when you get married. That's something you have to think, just as a single person going into it.
And I think we've come back, well, I'll say we're coming back full circle in the sense that as a single person, my advice is, number one, you have to have a vision for your life.
Yes.
You have to have a vision for what you're doing. If you go back to Genesis and you read, when God created Adam, he gave him something to do, and he gave him the vision. This is what you're meant to be doing. And when he started doing that, and what he was doing was when God saw him and said, you know what, it's not good for this guy to be alone. I need to bring someone to help him. But he was doing something before the woman came into him. If we go into relationships as a single guy, and if we keep thinking, I'm going to find someone that's going to compliment me or make me better, you're going to miss it. Because unless you're 100% whole yourself, you're not ready for a marriage. Because I used to make that mistake before too, and I used to say, oh, my better half. No, there's no better half. God says, and the two shall become one. So it's one person and one person that comes together and becomes one. For me, I went through the process of dating and experimenting, and until I decided to let go, and I started going after the vision for God for my life and going back to, even though I was in church, funny enough, I was in church all this while, but until I went back to say, what's the vision for God for my life? And when I started going after that fully was when I found my wife.
Interesting. Wow, I think there's been so many amazing things that you guys have contributed today. That's excellent, excellent. I wish I could stay even longer, but I know I need to get kicked out of the cave. So if you guys could just share with me one line, I'm just going to ask, just very simple. As a man, can you share a life lesson, things you've learned that has impacted you from your experience, that you feel that, that this is a lesson that, just something that will make a difference, or for men that, make a huge difference. Let me start with you, Judy.
Patience, wait, and patience.
Patience in life. Okay, Tim.
I would say lesson learned would be finding a older male, or finding someone that you can kind of like go to as advice.
Like a mentor.
Like a mentor.
Oh, fantastic! Having a mentor.
Definitely, especially for men. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's an angle that when we're talking about relationships and friendships that men need to build. That's a great one.
I'm still learning, but one thing that has been a life lesson for me so far is to ask questions. Ask questions. Because sometimes you just need answers to things that you can't figure out yourself. Ask questions.
I like that.
To fall back on Timmy, I have godly counsel. I have several godly counselors.
Yeah. Extremely important, right? Yes, yes. Brandon.
For me, I would say as a man, not to hold on to your feelings. Sometimes as men, we think that just we don't want to put our feelings and emotions on our family and blah, 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 we just hold them. But sometimes it's better to express them and get them out now versus just letting them spill over when it's too late. So just always be open and communicate with your partner. Yeah, definitely.
It's funny how everything kept changing when everyone was talking about. I wanted to say that. But one thing I would say for me is forgiveness. Learning to forgive yourself and learning to forgive other people.
I'll say trust and respect the process. A lot of the times you can only do what you can do in that moment, and you can't kill yourself for what you can't do in that moment. So because everything is a process, respect where you are right there and do what you can do in that moment.
I love that. Yes.
So what I would say is always stay positive and believe in yourself. For me, what has kept me going is my mindset. I never think anything is impossible. That's the way I am, both on my job and my personal life, and that's what keeps me going. I'm always a positive person, and I see possibilities in every situation. I never think anything is going to be difficult for me to do. Once you have that attitude, you have that faith, and you have that mindset, things will always fall in place for you.
Thank you. Wow.
I would say my number one life lesson is perseverance. You just gotta keep pushing. Don't stop.
Yes.
If I try something and it doesn't work, okay, let's keep it moving. What's plan B? Alright, what's the next step? This isn't pan out. What's the next step? I'm not gonna sit here and feel sorry for myself. I'm just gonna keep pushing.
I love that. I love
because
that.
I have people relying on me.
Yeah. Got responsibilities. My goodness, this has been such an awesome time. Every single person has brought an angle to issues we've talked about. And I just want to say a big thank you. And for everyone who has joined us today in the Man Cave, I'm sure there's something or the other that you've heard that, would make a strong impact. Thank you for being a part of today's episode. For more information, please visit us on any of our social media handles. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye-bye.